Hello and welcome to Orensha Tech. We're going to be going over a problem that I had recently where I needed to compare two JSON files and query whether there was any differences between the two, something that had changed from the original file to the new file. So I'm going to go over my script here and go over how I actually solve that problem so that you can go through the same framework of finding different commands that you can use to solve problems for yourself. So to start at the top here, we're just running this as an actual controller script. So we've got our parameters, which I've attached commandlet binding, which gives it just a ton of cool features that are built right into PowerShell, such as all your common parameters and these two pieces right here that lets you specify that a parameter is mandatory so that we can run this right from the command line as a script. Now I've got my file names in here, but it will ask me for files since I've specified these as mandatory. So I will eventually be pulling these out, but I just wanted to have them in there for reference. And let's go take a look at those two JSON files so we can see what we're working with. So we've got an array of JSON objects that is just some standard user data. And there is one of these objects that has changed. So we've got Jane Smith and then Joe Smith. So we want our script to be able to tell us that between those two JSON files, that one of those, based on the user ID here, has actually changed the data inside that object. So going down, we grab our file paths and then convert both of those files using the get content commandlet from JSON to PowerShell objects and store those in our original variable and our compare variable. And then we come down here to the actual function. And the function is using that same commandlet binding to give us those common parameters and just a ton of cool tools. And then we're going to specify that we want this first parameter, JSON1, to be mandatory and also accept value from the pipeline. So if we were running this function and we had it loaded into a module and into our PowerShell, we could pipe in one of the JSON values. Now we can't have both of our parameters here pipe in from the value. We could have this second one be piped in by property name. So if we did have a JSON array that was named JSON2, we could feed it in that way. But for now, I'm just going to leave the first one as something you can pipe in via the pipeline. And then the second one, you could always specify using a get content file convert from JSON using the parentheses method. So next, we're going to look here and we're creating a new array that is empty. And this is going to be the variable that's going to hold all of the objects that have changed. So we start off by doing a for each on the first JSON. We're going to store the current item in an item variable. And then we set a new variable for the compare item. And to get the exact same item based on these user IDs, we take our second JSON, pipe it into where object to filter it, and we grab the user ID where they both match. So now we've got our current item and our compare item. We're going to take our current item and pipe that into get member type note property, and that's going to grab each of these fields here. It does grab additional properties, but that's where we use the note property to only grab these four fields. So then we take those and pipe that into a for each object. And for each of those, we set the name into a name variable. And then we try a if the item name is not equal to the compare item name, meaning if the value at name is not equal to the value at this name, where each of these user IDs are the same, it's going to create a new object and give us the ID of that user, which field is not the same. It's going to give us the original value and the changed value, and then add that to our not equal variable. Now, I did add a catch statement here, thinking if, for instance, we went and deleted this out of the file, that it would give us an error, but it in fact does not give us an error. So this catch wasn't necessary for my files, but it's good to have that in there. If it does have any errors, it's just going to let you know that it didn't find the name from the first one in the second one. So then the ending of our function is it's going to return that not equal variable that should have all of the changes between the two files. Of course, if they were exactly the same, that would be empty and it would return nothing. So then in our controller script here, we actually run the compare my JSON files function and input the original and the compare into there. So then the controller will return this not equal variable. And to see that, we're going to go here and run this script. We're going to come up and grab our file paths. We're going to specify our file 1, copy paste, specify our file 2, and then we'll run this. So as you can see, it's going to tell us that there are 3 differences between those files, and they were all on the user ID number 2. So if we wanted to go back to the files, we could see, okay, user ID number 2, Jane Smith. Okay, the name and the email address changed and the join date was removed. And as you can see down here, that is exactly what this script / function has done for us. So we've got the actual function that we could use and load into a module and have available in PowerShell for us. And we've also got this controller script that we could give to our colleagues and they could use to easily put 2 files into the script and output what differences there are between those. I hope that was helpful, and I hope that it helped to explain how exactly I came to that solution. And if you're interested in learning more about PowerShell, I've got an entire series on PowerShell that I'm doing that starts right at the beginning, and it's going to take us all the way through PowerShell mastery. Thank you, and have a good day.